everyone. This is Terry. And I was awakened very early this morning and found myself listening to a video on the history of vaccines. One thing that came to me was we can have 1,000 excuses that will exist in our mind, but not have one single reason why we cannot take a step forward. Generally, fear at the most deepest layer, which is hanging over this notions about security and safety, for not being and remaining in close ties to inclusivity within our groups, that has us believing a certain way of life. And the global health crisis has done this for us. It has really either cemented notions and perceptions and codified for people in such a way as they act sometimes rather inhumane to others. And that is an unconscious pathway built to the hindbrain. Again, I spoke about this in the last podcast, that we don't even know we're doing it, people. We don't even know that we're being unkind. And the first kindness in my world professionally is to listen. And listen deeply. Anxiety gets us into a place of shutting down this capacity. And the anxiousness that we have about not being included or not being heard or not being seen arises in a millisecond, and we fight back, or we'll run. And that's what we've been seeing in my world, in the Bay Area specifically, during the global health crisis. And I was living at ground zero, in healthcare, in a clinic, and in a COVID clinic as well, that I helped to manage for a couple months. All right. This video, which is about 90 minutes long, and it's beautifully articulated by this woman who spent a lifetime gathering data, research, reading books, going to lectures, going to protests, much in the same way that I have codified my life too. So I appreciate the work that she's done, and I give her kudos. The first thing I want to say is, who are we to judge anybody? Who are we to even consider that we are more powerful than God, or a creator, or a spiritual divine? Because when we judge another person and put pronouncements on them, are we not showing a bit of our own failings in our own capacity to see our light? Imagine that you're waking to frost on your skin. Your bones are a bitter cold. The world is retreating, leaving you naked, shivering alone in an icy tundra. You're not dying from the bitter winter, but from the cold sting of being shunned, obfuscated, possibly even smeared by others. You're alone. You're also unable to return to the life that you left behind. This is an awakening. It is the moment that you cross this threshold into a new understanding, a new beginning, where the world can no longer be seen through the lens of old belief patterns. Belief itself becomes a cage of self-doubt. We follow belief systems because we doubt. From birth, we're shaped by the systems promising belonging and security. Yet, at their core, they deceive us. It's a form of indoctrination, a form of education, a form of discipline, a form of moral authority. The world I know Take centralized healthcare. We pay for it, we go bankrupt, we grow chronically ill, or we even die from its practices, yet we still cling to the notion that a magic pill or magic surgery is going to cure the condition, to which it doesn't generally. Depression festers in the very system that is meant to heal us. The global health crisis is a tsunami today of chronic illness, mental illness, mental unwellness, people's sense of abject depression and anxious anxiety, particularly in our young daughters and sons, our future. We are going bankrupt, in my opinion, and it is a bit scary. But is this all the truth of it? For nearly 2 decades and more, I studied vaccines, researched the clinical databases in my former employer, which we had access to everything for free. I used clinical librarians to help me scour. And in 2021, during this global health crisis, I plunged deeply to understand what the world was facing. In the talks and the webinars, the books that I've been reading, the protests that I gathered around during this time, that was not only around medical freedom, but also Black Lives Matter, Asian hate, these ideologies that has perpetuated a further divide in our America. I needed to understand why I felt so disconnected. And it's a term that was founded by a French eugenicist, physiologist, Nobel laureate named Charles Richet in the late 1800s. Well, he found out that in the first quote-unquote inoculation, that the body somehow did not get sick. But in 3 weeks' time, duration passed, the second inoculation became fatal. What we know today is that there's antibodies that form in the first inoculation, and the body is now defended against that foreign invader in our body. So 3 weeks later, the body has enough soldiers to combat the foreign invader. And what happens is your body responds. But if the foreign proteins are so abundant in the trillions, we don't have the forces. And so we succumb to it, either by chronic illness or we actually die. So roll forward to 2021 of January, and we will see that Moderna and Pfizer, what was the duration between the first and the second shots? 3 weeks. So 21 days. That's what we scheduled for our members at the COVID clinic at the Oakland Marriott. Anyways, so for me, 2021, my old life died. My colleagues are gone. My friends, most of them are gone. My community, my teachers. I had numerous teachers that I was studying under in leadership, Gestalt, Tai Chi. Gone. So I sifted through everything I had been taught. And I began to discard what was poisoning my mind and my body. And in its place, I embraced love, compassion, gratitude, and forgiveness Forgiveness being the opportunity for me to sink into and allow myself to let go of others' judgments. This was a practice, a Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono. And as a former healthcare professional, now retired, and as an integrative physiotherapist who studied TCM, Chinese medicine, did a fellowship in Michigan State in osteopathy, manipulative medicine that is, teach deep bodywork practices from Esalen Institute, have sat and listened to experts in quantum healing, and studying relationship, leadership, and the capacity to genuinely listen to another's story, I now use this knowledge as a way to support others. And it was not something I was actually envisioning for myself in 2021 when I left. I just started having conversations with fellow Americans in other states, by the way, not the Bay Area as much, but in other places that seem to be more open and available to another person's perspective over their own perception. A brother on Substack named Max Wang, he posted this, or I guess restacked it, speaking to murder in the first degree and depopulation around vaccinology. And I struggled with that depopulation for a few years, and my study, though, my knowledge gathering has me in agreement to this. And to those individuals, those billionaires who are controlling the vaccine rollouts, they are monetizing it, number one, and they do actually say that they are using vaccines to depopulate by 20%. Bill Gates. You can find him on TED Talks. You can listen to him on 60 Minutes. He goes through the whole thing. These people, they're not even hiding it. It's up to us to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and let that sink in. Re-listen, reread, really do your due diligence, and begin your own awakening to find optimal health. That's what my world is about today. Be healthy. Be healthy in your mind. Reduce the inflammation. Any place where inflammation will seep into your life, eliminate it. That could be in the way that you think and how you judge. We use a lot of negative and gravitas, negative thoughts and thinking. We make judgments of others and other ways of living a life, and that causes inflammation in our body. It promotes neurochemistry from our pituitary gland to flow hormones that begin the processes of inflammatory reactions in our cells. This is what creates toxicity, inflammation. You know, the truth of health lies in our terrain. This is the terrain here. We are a part of nature. We are the minerals, we are the substances, the substrate that is in the forests, in the places that we love to go. It's when we cross a stream, a river, that's flowing beautifully, crystal clear. And what do you want to do when you cross that river? But first, just stop and watch, and in awe, consider its power, its lifehood, its chi. We want to drink that water. We want to bathe in that water. And this is what we want to consider from a quantum state or a fractal state. Every cell in our body is us. Every cell in our body is that individual hiking along the riverways or the watercourseways, and we want our cells, our humanness, to be bathed in this beautiful light of water. That is harmony, that is joy, that is amusement, which breeds happiness in our life. Disharmony is the root of all disease. It is the only dis-ease in the world. That's it. No matter the thousands of syndromes or names that we give to pathologize like we're God or creator or spirit of some sort, it has been multiplied in centralized healthcare. We just pathologize human biology. That is not humans' capacity for a limitless life. That is actually creating boxes for us. I think we have 28 subspecialties that carve out the body. When there's just one body, the corporeal body, and then there's the ethereal body, the spiritual body, and then there's a soulful body. These are the three areas that I like to connect in clinical care. Because if we don't see and we don't allow ourselves to begin to want to have a conversation of curiousness, ask questions, and listen from those three realms, then healing will be stunted. What we need is harmony in our life. And sometimes bridging that gap between disease and harmony means we have to cut out a lot of fat. Ugly fat. Stuff that doesn't serve us. We want to keep the good fat, and we want to get rid of the bad fat. So I don't use this term lightly, evil, but there is an evilness that's woven into vaccines. The science around vaccines is scarce, scant, and been contrived. Vaccines truly strip us of our divinity, our wholeness, our creativity, our independence, our ability to thrive. They sap the life force that was gifted to us at birth. Vaccines are not health promoting marvels. That's propaganda. People, look around. When you go on your next walk or hike, just notice how many of your fellow Americans are truly healthy. There are no metrics, there are no statistics or news cycles or Hollywood CIA narratives that are needed to see this truth. When your eyes open wide, the light floods in. Take a breath and just let the light flood in. It will guide the mind into clarity. But it's more about the mind coming down into the body. Ask your body what it feels when you look around and you see your fellow brothers and sisters who are not very healthy. In Chinese medicine, we talk about the Shen. The Shen is the relationship between the heart and the mind. But in Chinese medicine, there is no word for nervous system. There really is no word for what we deem as mental illness. Chinese medicine looks at the harmony between organ systems that carry and move qi about, uses the qi in its appropriate manner and fashion to support the necessary actions of that particular organ system. And within those organ systems, there are emotions that are connected to them. There are many other things related to that, but emotions are the important piece to understand. The heart holds joy, love, compassion. The stomach and the spleen hold worry and perseverance, bits of anxiety. It's tied to your will. The kidneys and the bladder hold fear. The liver and the gallbladder hold anger and resentment through the notions of not being able to be seen or heard, being placed in a box, as one good sister spoke to me about a few days ago. The lungs carry the essence of grief. We wail through our breath. These organ systems are paired. And there's a yin-yang aspect to the paired systems. And it's important to know that harmony in the yin-yang aspect is not a balance. It's not being on a teeter-totter and standing in the middle, because you have to effort to maintain the balance. Very subtle. This is about finding your rhythm in life, finding your true sovereign self. That is a form of harmony. It's about saying what you need to say without any notions that anything will be affecting you from other people, that you know your true self. This is a form of harmony. Disharmony goes along with disease, and that is the only disease that I consider when I am in conversations with other people. I don't care what we've named it. Doesn't matter. Healing is simple, people. Getting there is the opportunity of a lifetime. And I guarantee that if you stay on the path, whatever that path may be for you, and you want to be 100% healed, it will be greater than you ever imagined. All right, people. So may we all see this light of truth, and from this, we know our divine nature. We are not separate from nature. I don't believe there's one vaccine in this world that is good for us. That's where I stand at the moment. Now it can change. If there's a natural vaccine, which is your food that you eat, it's the water that you drink, it's the enriching community of pro-social behaviors of the people who love you for you, not for who they think you should be, then those are natural inoculations to a healthy life. Remove the toxicity, remove the toxins, the poisons, the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, bactericides, the 2,4-dicambas, glyphosates, the strontium, barium, mercury, aluminum hydroxide coming from the heavens, from the ships above us. Remove the toxicity of the electrical fields, the non-native electrical fields. That's forming disharmony in our life. And what you're doing when you start to take those elements out of your life, you are recreating your harmony back again. That is the inoculation of life, and this is what will keep you safe and healthy to the end. All right, folks, blessings and namaste. Bye for now.